Hi, my name is Chris. Today I'm going to be doing Leetcode problem 496, next greater element 1. In JavaScript, this is an easy problem. Okay, the next greater element of some element x in an array is the first greater element that is to the right of x in the same array. So you're given two distinct zero-indexed integer arrays, nums1 and nums2, where nums1 is a subset of nums2. Right? So what do they mean by subset? Subset is, if we look at this example here, all these numbers are going to be in that. So all the numbers in nums1 will always be in nums2. So, 412, 142, we see that, 24, 204, right? That's all that means. Okay. So for each 0 less than or equal to I less than nums.length, find the index j so that nums1i equals nums2j and determine the next greater element of nums2j and nums2. If there is no next greater element, then the answer for this query is -1. Return an array ands of length nums1.length such that ands of I is the next greater element as described above. Okay. These two this paragraph and this sentence here, not as easy to understand. So if you look at the examples, though, it starts to make sense. All right, so let's look at example 1. So what they're asking for, okay? Basically, and I'll kind of explain how we're going to do this too. We're going to create a nested for loop. The outer loop is going to loop through nums1. What we're going to do here is we're going to check for this number in nums2, right? So we're going to come over here. We're going to see that 4 is here in nums2, so it's at index 2, right? And then our inner loop is going to start at nums2 at index 2. So wherever this number's at in nums2, that's where our inner for loop is going to start. Then we're going to continue this loop, and at most we're going to go through the full length of nums2. If before we get to the full length we see a number that's greater than whatever number we're seeing here, right? So let's say that this was 5, then we push 5 into a result array, right? Since we have a 2 here and it's less than 4, what we do is we push, oh, excuse me, hold on, I did that wrong. Hold on. No, that's right. For a minute, I thought they were going to ask for the index. Okay, sorry about that. Little brain fart. Okay, like I said, so if this was 5, we push 5 into the result array. Since 2 is less than 4, so if the number is less than 4, it's less than whatever number we're checking, right? Or I'm sorry, if there is no number, right? If there is no number that's greater than 4 at the right side of the array, we push in -1. So in this case, we look at 4, we go through the rest of the array, there's no number greater than 4, so we push in -1. Now we've got 1, so we go over here and we say, okay, 1 is at index 0. We start our inner for loop through nums2, 0. Immediately we come to 3, which is higher than 1, so we push in 3. Finally, we check for 2, we go to 2, and that's the last element of nums2, so we start our loop here. Obviously there's no more numbers, so there's nothing greater, so we push in -1. That's how we get the result. Let's just go through this example real quickly, and then we will go ahead and code this out. So here, our first number is going to be 2, so we look at nums2, and we see a 2 here at index 1. We start our inner loop here, and we move forward. Immediately we see that 3 is greater than 2, so we push 3 into our result. Then we have 4, we see 4 here, we try to move forward, there's nothing there. so we push -1. So our result is 3 minus 1. Okay? And for this one, yeah, I think we should grab the output, because I'm not going to remember that. Okay. Let's create 8 variables. Const. And comment that out. Let's create a function. We call it func. Okay. So like I said, at the end of the day, we're going to return a result. So let's just go ahead and create that result array, empty array. And once we get done with this, we go ahead and return result. So we need to create our outer for loop that's going to be looping through nums1. So let I equal 0, and if I is less than nums1 dot length, we increment I. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable called index. And what index is going to be is the index of nums1 at I in nums2. That way, when we create this inner for loop, we can say let j equals index, right? Because we want to start at wherever the index is of this number in this array, right? And then we're going to say j is less than nums2 length. We increment j. Okay. So here what we can do is we can just, let's console.log. I just want you to see exactly what's happening here before we move forward. Uh-oh, I made a mistake somewhere. What did I do? Oh, no, I just didn't log to the console. I didn't make a mistake. I just forgot to do the silliest thing. We always need to log to the console or in the code pen so we see what the hell is going on. Okay, so we've got 4 in nums1. We check that against 4 in nums2. We got 4 in nums1. We check that against 2 in nums2. And then 1 in nums1, 1 in nums2, 1 in nums1, 3 in nums2, so on and so forth, right? So we're starting at, when we loop through nums2, we're starting at wherever this number is in nums2. And that's what we want. We're going to create another variable here. We're going to call this let num equal -1. Now what we can do is we can check to see if nums1 at I is less than nums2 at j, right? Num is now going to equal nums2 at j. Okay. So now this variable is no longer going to be -1. It's going to be whatever this number is, nums2 at j, if nums2 at j is greater than nums1 at I. then what we can do is we can result dot push num. We'll push num the result. And we have a mistake somewhere. I know what it is. Okay, let's talk about what's happening here, and let's talk about the mistake I made. So we're getting these -1s because num by default is -1, right? So if we check, so here we're at 4, right? Then we go to the inner loop, we'll check this. Obviously it's the same number, so it's not going to be greater. Then we check this against 4, it's not greater. We get to the end of this array, and so out of this for loop, then we push num, which by default is -1, which is what they're asking for, right? Then what happened, and I'll show you how to fix this in a second, but we get to 1, we compare 1 and 1, they're equal, right? So nothing happens. We compare 1 and 3. 3 is greater than 1 now, right? So now num is 3. But then we didn't do anything to stop this inner loop, right? So it kept going. So then it checked 1 and 4. 4 is greater than 1, so now num is 4. We keep going. 1 is greater, or 2 is greater than 1, so now num is 2. And then we leave the inner for loop, and at this point num is 2, so we push 2 in the result, and that's why we're getting this 2. What we need to do here is, if we find that, we break out of the loop. Now we're going to get 3. Great. Let's go ahead and copy all this logic. Paste it into Leetcode. Run our tests. Great. Let's submit it. All right, fantastic. And it's fast too. Always a good thing. Cool. Hopefully you found this video helpful and enjoyable. If you did, please like it. It helps my channel grow. If you'd like to see more like this, please like and subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you again real soon.